beautiful things about Zoom. No one knows how you smell. Like, you could show up to any Zoom meeting, any, like, Zoom happy hour, Google Meet, whatever, and you could come straight from a workout, as long as you, like, you know, do a little zhuzh with your hair, and, well, I mean, I don't really have that much hair, but as long as you can make yourself look at least presentable enough on camera, no one has a clue how badly you smell. And I think that that's one of the beautiful things that's come as a result of the pandemic. There have been a lot of awful things. I will take the joy that I can get out of this miserable last 5 years that we have had. Hi there. Welcome back to my vlog, or welcome if you're new for the very first time. I am Peter Fenton. I'm a writer and producer of theater and film. My work has been seen off-Broadway, and it has also been seen on the International Film Festival circuit. I have started this vlog because people need to understand what artists do on a day-to-day basis. And the more of us that are out here sharing our story for the people inside and outside the industry, the more we can realize we're all just people, and we're all just kind of figuring this out as we go. So that is why I'm sharing this vlog. So if you are interested in getting into the arts, or if you are interested in understanding what it is I do on a day-to-day basis, if you're one of my friends or family, or just what a writer or producer does, drop a subscribe down below, and be sure to like this video if you enjoy what you see here, and maybe leave a comment of something that you want me to talk about in a future episode. I'd love to hear from you. So, anyway, on to today's topic. Working for free. So, a lot of people, like, I feel like there's a meme that's floating around out there. People have been clowning on this for a very long time. Like, oh, this gig doesn't pay, but it'll give you great exposure. And they say, oh, that's fantastic. My rent is 800 exposures a month. I think a lot of people are under the impression that artists have other sources of income. And so the reward in and of itself of getting the chance to act, or getting the chance to write, or get the chance to, you know, whatever it is that we do, it's a reward in and of itself. I mean, the community theater system is built on people having lives and work outside of the community theater, and they get together because they love to do it. And totally not knocking that. I think that that is a very viable way to experience the arts, and that's a way that a lot of people can get involved and have their creative self-expression in a way that doesn't create this, well, if I don't do this, I don't eat. That's a dangerous life to set up for. So if that is a life that you are able to manage and you're able to do well, I say go do that. But there are those of us who, our art is our livelihood. Our art is what it is we need to do. So I am of the mindset that, in general, I don't really work for free at this point in my career, at this point in my artistry. Now, this vlog, this is an artistic outlet. This is sort of my own way of doing a community theater type of thing. I'm not getting paid presently at the time that I'm recording this. I'm not getting paid to do this vlog. I am just doing this out of the love in my heart for the game, out of the love of my heart for my fellow creatives of YouTube land. I'm just doing this because it's fun. I am doing this to express myself. But the actual art that I put my time and editing effort into, you know, there's a price to it. But I'm not somebody who I will never work for free ever again. I am of the mindset that there are ways of going about getting involved in projects that aren't necessarily paid, but it's got to be the right circumstances. And I mean, in general, I'll tell you, as a producer, I am often not able to pay a lot or pay at all. So I want to talk today a little bit about how to create an environment where people get something out of being part of your projects if you can't pay them, or you can't pay them much. At the time we're recording this, I'm 28 years old, and I don't have a lot of cash to spare, period, but I am producing a lot of my own stuff. So the question that I'm always running in my head is, how do I create value for the people who dedicate so much time and effort and love and their talent to this project in such a way that if I were able to pay them equitably, I would. And I know there's a chance I get raked across the coals for even suggesting that there are ways of making art for free. There aren't. I know there aren't. But in the very specific circumstances of creating art together with friends, with community, where all of you happen to be professionals and you're all doing something that you're hoping to leverage as a professional art project, but nobody involved is making a lot of money. And that's the big thing. So I want to dive into some of the things that I try to do to be somebody that people want to work with, and also bring value when I can't write a large check. So let's get into it. All right, so first, one of the most important things. All right, editing Peter here, because I think it's important to clarify. I'm going to say you should or you have to a lot in this video, and I don't really feel like re-recording it because I feel like I said good stuff. Please keep in mind, this is what works for me. This is what I do. These are the things that I tell myself. So when you hear me say you should or you have to, those are notes I write to myself. So just want to make sure we're all on the same page, because nothing on this vlog should be construed as advice. This is just the things that I say to myself. The very first thing, and maybe the most important thing about an unpaid or underpaid project, is be upfront. Communicate very clearly what exactly is expected and what exactly the compensation level is going to be. Like, even if this person is your friend, even if you have an established relationship with this person, everybody's got to be on the same page. What is the level of involvement that you are requesting of them, and what dollar amount can you provide for them? And if it's zero, say it's zero. That's fine. Like, I mean, it's not fine. Like, if you have the money to pay people, obviously pay people who work for you, but just be upfront about what are the resources going toward. The easiest way to destroy a relationship is to surprise somebody with an internship. Remind me to tell you about that story sometime, because that did happen to me, and I'm speaking from experience. So be upfront and tell the truth. That is the most important thing before going about any project, is how much time are you dedicating to this and how much are you going to get paid? Even if it's $0, tell them. One of the most important things about leading a project where you can't pay people what they deserve is you have to understand the humanity of everybody involved. You have to understand and respect what they are bringing to the team, and you have to verbalize that as much as possible, because it is no small feat for an actor to dedicate themselves to a play, to a movie, to anything. And it is so important. And people aren't mind readers. So these people are doing huge favors for you. You need to express with words how grateful you are to these people for dedicating all of this time and love to your project. And not just saying it with words, also being willing to work for free on your friends' projects. So while I have my own scripts that I write, I also sometimes act. And if somebody has a script that they need actors for and they're not able to pay people what they necessarily deserve, but I am available, I make myself available, and I would like to be part of their project in the same way that they were able to be part of my project. I think just being willing to be part of each other's work, when you have that mutual respect, when you have that friendship and trust built from working for each other for just about no pay, you're able to build this camaraderie in such a way that when you do a project, people want to be part of the project rather than necessarily people want the money. The next thing is, if you are making any money off of the art project that you are creating, you gotta be equitable with how you distribute it. So if you are creating the only circumstances in which I would pay somebody $0 to be part of something that I am organizing is if I myself am also making $0. Like, if you stand to make $500 from something and you are hiring 2 actors and a director for it, I would consider distributing that $500 to your cast, your director, and you. Now, I realize that's not good for business, Obviously, like as a business person, you want to minimize costs and maximize profits. But as a person who wants to build a network, as somebody who wants to build inroads with other artists, nobody's getting rich off this. You're not going to get rich off of $500 if you hoarded it all for yourself anyway. So it makes sense to distribute it to the people who are involved in making this project that netted you $500. So I don't know, 100 for each actor, 100 for the director, and then you pocket 200. Done. Everyone would understand if that was the case. This whole industry is built on relationships and how you manage those relationships well. So I would say, like, literally, only 2 projects in my life have come as a result of me blindly submitting and getting in on the merits of just my script or just my application. Everything else that I have created, everything else that I have produced in the first 14 years of my career have come as a direct result of being available and building relationships with people. So in some ways, yeah, I guess it is bad for business if you, don't pocket much money, but the relationships that you keep and the relationships that you build when you extend goodwill and you extend willingness to be part of other people's project and you extend, generosity when possible, you will net so much more than $500 by keeping people happy and creating broader networks. When an opportunity comes someone's way and I'm a good fit for it, I want people to be thinking of me when those opportunities come up. And I like to keep people in mind for when opportunities come up and I need to populate them, or an opportunity comes my way that I'm either too busy for or I'm not a really good fit for, but I might know someone who is. So it's all about who you know in this industry. And so a lot of that can come from working for exposure. It's not about exposure, about getting famous. It's not about exposure being my rent is 800 exposures a month, but it's about being able to foster goodwill and being somebody that people think of when you're not in the room, and being able to be part of projects and being able to build friendships and being selective about which projects and relationships you dedicate yourself to. It can turn into great momentum. If not rich or famous, success is measured in impact and how you make other people feel. That is what I tell myself all the time. And that, I think, is a bit of a tangent from my topic today, but it's all related. Another thing, I try to make sure that nobody pays an undue amount of money to be part of the project. So what does this involve? This involves if you are bringing people in from out of town, you find places for them to stay. If you are shooting over a long period of time, you pick up the tab on food. If people are driving in from out of town, you're covering their gas. No art ever costs $0 to make. And so if you want to get your art out there into the world and you are looking into self-producing and you're having actors who are willing to act for free, you have to be able to take care of them, and you have to be able to make it the easiest way for them to want to act for free is to cover all of the expenses that are related to getting them to acting for free. I would say another thing that you have to keep in mind is we're all artists. We're all sharing the same $20. We need to go where the money is. So I would say you have to respect that people have commitments outside of this project that you're creating, and you have to be able to, I wouldn't necessarily say have them hold the commitment loosely, because if somebody commits to being part of your project, they should commit to being part of your project. But I would say be ready to respect that if somebody has a paying gig that pops up, or somebody has just other life responsibilities and they aren't able to dedicate quite as much time as maybe you would like them to into your project, you gotta understand that that's bound to happen. And that's part of life. And if you value the network relationship of this particular artist's time, you have to be able to work with them. Maybe it's shifting what the time frame is that you are looking to do this project. If it matters that much that you're shooting it that day, or if it matters that much that rehearsal is happening at that time, you got to roll with it. And you have to be willing to let your vision change to who is willing to be there and what they are willing to give. A lot of times when we're operating with very little money, very little resources, you got to work with what you have. And sometimes that's writing for very few actors, because it's hard to find that many actors who are willing to give X amount of time to rehearsal and filming, or rehearsal and performance. That's another thing. When dealing with a small amount of resources, it is so important to write for who you know you can work with. Like, think about who your friends are. Think about who are the people whose projects you would show up for free, and write projects for them. Write things that they will be able to contribute their unique perspective to, which will help them be excited about being part of the project, that you had them in mind when you were creating this part. So those are some of my thoughts on how I try to appreciate the people who are volunteering for me, or the people who I am paying well less than they are worth. This is how I'm able to get people to help me out with my projects and continue working on these new projects. And I know full well, if I had the money and resources to pay everybody exactly what they were worth, that is what I would do. I might be a bad business person. I would rather be a good human than a good business person. And I don't know, maybe that means I'll never be rich, but I know that I'll have a lot of friends, and I will continue to have friends. So that's the vlog this week. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and come back for more. I will keep talking about more writing and producing topics. If you have any ideas for me, please drop them down in the chat below. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. All right, have a great day.